Breaking news in the fight against COVID. Pfizer announcing it's developing a booster shot for its vaccine designed to target the highly contagious Delta variant. Clinical trials could begin as early as August, subject to FDA approval. This is in line with Pfizer's guidance that a third vaccine dose would likely be needed within 12 months of full vaccination. And it comes, as the CDC says, the Delta variant is now the dominant strain in the U.S. Joining me now is Dr. Kavita Patel, a physician and fellow at the Brookings Institution. She also worked on health policy in the Obama White House. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much. So I have a lot of questions. If somebody sends me a letter in the mail and says, hey, you might want to bring your car back in, like, it sounds like a factory recall to me. So the fact that Pfizer just came out with this announcement to come get a third dose, is that a sign of concern? Like, if I have been vaccinated by Pfizer, does that mean that it's weaker than Moderna or Johnson & Johnson?
No, Jason, quite the opposite. This is really kind of our preventive way by having a third shot available. And I'll talk through kind of what this means briefly, but it's just a way to prevent any concerns about future variants, as well as the Delta variant, escaping our immunity. The current vaccines, all three of them, hold up against the Delta variant for severe hospitalization and death. I think the concern has been that over time, that immunity just will decrease. And so, Jason, that we need to see the details. I need to see the data, but Pfizer has reported that they can boost the antibody response anywhere from 5 to 10-fold with that third dose. And remember, they're doing this because there's a whole process after they put this application into the FDA. So this isn't something to worry about, like a recall of your current vaccines. It's a reminder, though, that COVID hasn't ended with just that two-shot series.
So let's say I have Johnson & Johnson. Let's say I have Moderna. Would it be safe or would it be dangerous for me to say, you know what? Why don't I just go back down to the health center and get a third dose of the vaccine I have? If everybody's doing it with Pfizer, why can't I do it with mine? Is that safe? Would that be dangerous for people to do?
Yeah, it would be dangerous. And again, like, you really can't get that third shot. This is just Pfizer, the company, announcing that they're going to apply to the FDA, and that process will start. The reason it's dangerous, it might be appropriate in some situations, very limited ones, Jason. There's trials for organ transplant patients. I have had these patients who have not mounted any response, and they do need a third shot because that will help give them a response. But for the majority of people, Jason, if you got and walked in and got a third shot, it could actually cause more side effects, and that could cause more harm. So the side effects get amplified. And if you felt bad at the second shot, you could have an even more kind of stronger effect after the third one. So and everything we're talking about is why I'm concerned. The public is getting confusing messages when half our country still hasn't been vaccinated.
So I want to ask a little bit about these increasing variants before we sort of go to where the country isn't vaccinated. So we're at the Delta variant. Are these variants potentially coming out like hurricanes? Are they named? Are we going to get an Epsilon variant? Are we going to get a Gamma variant that makes you angry? Like, what potentially could we see if people continue to not get vaccinated? Will we see more of these variants down the road, or are we thinking that this might be a limited outgrowth?
No, we will. I mean, we are already watching additional variants, the Lambda variant, et cetera, for interest. We're calling them variants of interest. They're not variants of concern like the Delta one is yet. So you are correct. There will be follow-on variants. And why is that? It's because when the virus replicates, as it does in infected people, Jason, it has a chance to mutate. Mutations are normal, but it's that series of key mutations to the spike protein and to other things that can make it more infectious. And that's when it becomes this kind of variant of concern like Delta. Jason, all you have to do is look to Indonesia, 70,000 cases a day. And that is a breeding ground, along with unvaccinated Americans, for more of these mutations, more of these strains.
So we have basically 4 states that are hot boxes right now in the United States that have not done a good job. They have the lowest vaccination rates. They happen to be red states. I want you to sort of lean into this. Regardless of what is being done in other places, regardless of what your neighbors in Texas or Oklahoma or Colorado are doing, if these places continue to have these low numbers, they will spawn the next variants, right? They will keep the rest of the nation sick, because I don't think COVID needs a passport, nor does it need a plane ticket to go from place to place.
Yeah, we learned this lesson the hard way over a year ago. You're right. It's not going to be limited to just those areas with low vaccination rates. it makes everybody in any part of the country vulnerable, starting with unvaccinated people. Almost 100% of the deaths that we've had in the last several weeks, Jason, have been unvaccinated individuals. So I worry that we're creating this culture of the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. Quite the opposite. I don't want anyone to die. And this is what's happening. And you're right. This is how it spreads, not just across the United States, but across the world.
Yeah, literally, Tokyo has just announced that there will be no spectators after 920 new cases popping up in Tokyo. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so very much for keeping us informed on this issue.